What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Aftersound here, bringing you Splinterlands content every single day. We also stream right here on this channel every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday morning, so come by and say hello. All right, guys, well, we just had our town hall for December 12th, and I have for you my biggest takeaways. Now, for those who might be new to the channel, this is not a summary. There's other awesome content creators, both written and visual and video usually, that do some kind of summary that captures everything. Although you're about to laugh at this because my videos usually just cover the 5 biggest things, but today today we have a little more than 5, and I gotta say it was a phenomenal town hall. And if there was any town hall that I think that you should listen to over the past like 6 months, this would be the one. That being said, I'm about to get super pumped, super excited, and people are going to accuse me of being even a little bullish, maybe, when I go through my list here. And I just wanted to say that keep in mind, a lot of this is just ideas. A lot of this stuff is just the team, a team putting it out there into the world, and we could be very far away. In fact, it actually reminds me of how bullish everybody felt at the end of 2021. And all of this cool stuff that was potentially going to happen, land being one of them, right? And so there's a lot that I'm going to cover. And so before I even dive into it, I just don't get all hyped up the way that I am, is all I'm trying to say. Don't expect this stuff. None of this is confirmed except for the things that are actually confirmed. And we'll get into that. So you'll find this funny because when I started off and I looked at my like raw notes, I realized I had 16 takeaways, and you'll see that I willed it down to 15 because I realized a lot of these were things that I just at least wanted to mention because there was so much in there. So I split it up into like, what did I want to talk about for land, what I want to talk about for gameplay, guilds, and then miscellaneous. And yes, there's 15 items, so it's not the 5 biggest takeaways. The title of this video was a lie, but I trust me, this video will not be longer than the town hall itself. I know. And so some of these are just mentions, but I want to make sure that they get mentioned and not just like bonus things at the end. So let's go ahead and dive in because we have a lot to get to. Let's start with land because that was the big one. Farpetrod was on. He's the lead developer for land. I got to meet him in person at Splinterfest. Really cool dude. And yeah, it was great hearing from him, and then it was great hearing from Matt kind of expand upon the ideas for longer term. So Land 0.5 is coming out tomorrow or today, whenever you end up watching this video, or sometime in your past if you end up watching this later on in the future. So 12/13, so December 13th, is going to be the release date for Land 0.5, Phase 0.5. I already did a video covering that. So the 2 things that I wanted to talk about were, when can we potentially expect Land Phase 1? And so Farpetrod mentioned that there's going to be 2 releases before 1.0 can come out. So he wants to improve some market functions, and then he also wants to do some map enhancements. So if there's going to be 2 releases, and we want to get as bullish as possible, right? I'm going to pull up the little calendar here and just look ahead to January. I'm going to give them the 3rd off, right? Everybody's going to be coming back from holiday and all that. So I highly doubt that we're going to get any major releases on the 3rd. But let's say we, hopefully, optimistically, try to get that market functions on the Tuesday, the 10th update, and then the map enhancement on the 17th update. Well, we could be looking at, what I'm trying to say is the earliest that we could get Land Phase 1 would be January 24th. Okay, so just throwing that out there. Hopefully, hopefully we do hit that, or maybe the team is like really on their game and they can start on the 3rd rather than the 10th. But I'm gonna say January 24th at the earliest, and we'll see how well this video ages. Now, depressingly, sadly, he did say 2.0 by the end of 2023. So that is a major delay in land, and I have to say that I've been calling it here because, well, I didn't think it was going to be this late. So this is actually even more disappointing for me because the initial roadmap for land was, when Land Phase 1 comes out, and it was supposed to be Q3 of this year, then we would hopefully get Land Phase 2 about 6 to 9 months after, right? It was like Q3 and then Q1 potentially for Q1 of next year for phase two. Well, now it's essentially a full year away, right? If we do get land phase one by January, and they're saying by sometime the end of the year, I'm assuming December of next year. Now, hopefully that is just a very, very conservative estimate, but we all know how estimates have worked for the team, especially when they're somewhat abstract. They tend to underdo it than overdo it, if you know what I'm saying. So I just hope that we can get it by, I just hope that this is actually a very conservative estimate and that we can get this by December of next year. But really, I'm hoping that we get it well before, because my thought process was we would potentially get it around summer of next year. And then when they put out the whole Rebellion news, right? If we burn Chaos Legion packs through March, Rebellion comes out sometime in the summer, then I was like, okay, well, fall would be a perfect time, right? If just Q3, so October would be great. So, that kind of falls within that time frame. But when you say the end of 2023, it just feels like December, like they're gonna just scramble to get it in before the last update before the holidays, just like today, or just like tomorrow, I guess, for me. Okay, so that's the time frame for land. Couple things with DEC and how DEC is going to be a major part of land and potentially major sinks within land. So let's go through the DEC resource LPs. This is something that was mentioned. We all knew that it was going to happen, but Matt today mentioned that the DEC resource LPs are going to have incentives. So two things that come to mind immediately. One, there's going to need to be DEC in the mix and DEC required for liquidity on those LPs. So that will require some DEC. Hopefully that'll eat some up. Although keep in mind, that doesn't burn it. It's just we're going to need to put some DEC towards that. So hopefully some DEC that is in the mix will make its way over there. The incentives part is what drew me in today, because we're all getting free SPS airdrops essentially again for our land. And I'm wondering if part of that SPS is going to be allocated towards the incentives, because they need to reward us with something. And I don't know what that is. The only thing that I can think of is SPS, and that it would make sense for, participating in the land economy to do that. But you don't need to be a landowner. At least at my understanding is you don't necessarily need to be a landowner. And maybe there will be a requirement that you need to be a landowner in order to provide LPs like liquidity. But that kind of would, that would exclude a lot of people from coming in and just trying to be part of the DeFi ecosystem. And I don't think that's the direction that they'd want to go. So, if SPS is going to go towards there, I wonder if, I just wonder if that's going to reduce the amount that actually goes to landholders and how that's going to look. But that's for land phase 2. So that's really far out. Coming up a little bit sooner than that is this potential for DEC spending on land potions. Now, these are not similar to card potions, or they're not the exact same as card potions, but they're going to be functioning in a similar way, where you burn DEC and then your land has a certain specific percentage higher chance of being a higher rarity. And so a lot of people might be upset about this. There was already some people upset in the town hall, but Matt just said it's with all of our products, right? All of the potions that or all of the card packs that you use, they require potions. So land is going to be the same thing. You don't have to use it, but you kind of do, right? You don't have to, but you kind of do. Now, once land is actually out, there are going to be some other options here for more potential DEC sinks, quicker upgrades. So let's say, you need to, upgrade your buildings or work through them. You can do that more quickly. And then there's also going to be some kind of maintenance on your buildings, which I didn't really like, because that involves some kind of decay. Although as long as the decay is not higher than what you could potentially be earning from your land, if you're working it appropriately, I think we'll be okay. But overall, I like the fact that there's going to be these DEC sinks there. Now, the Clash of Clans note that I have here is actually for this quicker upgrades. And Matt specifically referenced this game. If you've ever played Clash of Clans, you can set aside, you can set aside time, right? So you want to upgrade such and such building, you use whatever coins or gems are in that game. But you then could also pay, right? Use fiat converted to whatever the in-game currency is, and then have your building upgraded instantly. So it seems as though there might be opportunities for people to do that, which again, all this stuff is great, but most of it is not going to apply to us for another year. I think the only that's coming soon are these land potions. And I really hope that for all of the region holders, all the tract holders, that you go out and you just burn a ton of DEC. That would really, really help SPS right now. All right, so that's the main stuff for land. Let's move on to gameplay. I think we're at a good pace here. So gameplay, Rooney's going live. So I do want to say before we get into anything else that I want to commend the team. These were the two things that I wanted to see by the end of the year. I mean, I didn't really care about land, but I know the team cared about land. So we're going to get land phase 0.5 and we're going to get Rooney. So that to me is exciting. There's a lot of new cards entering the meta within the last couple of days. Or I guess it was just Possibilis, but then we also found out about the promo card, Archimus the Bear. More on that later. Well, not on the promo card, but we'll get to it. So Rooney coming in is going to be a nice, fun mix. I'm excited to use it. I'm excited to just have it available. And overall, I think it's going to be great. Number 5 here, though. This was talked about in terms of fighting high-level bots. Matt wants to implement more rule sets, newer rule sets, and then also hinted at potentially doing 3 rule sets in a fight just to make it more complex, more difficult for bots to compete. Now, there's a very, very valid argument that it's actually easier for bots the more complicated it becomes because the bots can store that data, whereas humans can't, right? We're just going to look at, whatever the rule set is and try to put our best team forward. We don't have all of that historical data. That being said, I don't mind it because I do want more complexity for the game. I think at the lower levels, bronze, silver, you keep it simple, and I know there's a balance there because you have to keep it simple without it getting boring. But as you do get higher, I would love to compete in 3 rule set battles, and I think that would be exciting. That would add a lot into the mix, and again, if it's a way to fight high level bots, the argument can be for and against it, but for me, I'm excited about the possibility for 3 rule sets, just because as a player, I think that I would like that more. It's going to add a little bit more variety, and hopefully as we move forward, there will be opportunities to do human on human play only. The other thing that Matt talked about was adding new gameplay mechanics in Rebellion, and one of the things that he talked about was adding, and again, this is all just speculative and tentative, nothing is set in stone, but he called it the 7th man rule set, where essentially you have a 7th card, a 7th monster that is out of play, but joins the fight, almost like he tags in as soon as one of your monsters dies. So I love the idea. People were freaking out about it. It sounds really cool. And it goes along with the fact that what Matt was saying is he doesn't want to wait for land to come out to make some core changes to the gameplay. And so something like this, like a 7th man rule set where you have like an extra card or extra cards, I think we can hopefully expect more development and more innovation on the gameplay side, which again, that's probably been one of the biggest complaints over the last year and a half that I've been in the game, is just the gameplay is exactly the same. There's just new cards. There's just new cards and new rule sets. So he wants to actually change some of the gameplay mechanics, which I think would be fantastic. And so, 3 rule sets, 7th man rule set. There were a couple different ideas that he threw out there, but obviously this was the most popular one. I'm a big fan of, and with Rebellion coming hopefully within 6 months or so, or next summer or sooner, that is exciting as a player. Okay, Soulbound reward cards. Bunch of stuff said about them. Now, the thing with Soulbound reward cards is that Matt is using this as a way to add more value to accounts. That's the way he sees it, rather than and people will mistake him on this because they'll say like, well, you're actually taking away rewards because these don't have value. But the idea overall, from my understanding of what he said, is just to offer something that's account specific and something that adds value, and people will need to play the game in order to acquire it rather than just go buying it. And he uses himself as an example where he just waits a week after the cards are out and then goes and buys a max copy off of the market. So now this will encourage more playing. There's a couple of things here that I think are worth mentioning. Potentially in the higher leagues, you might get multiples in a chest if you're trying to level them up. And then this one was great. There could potentially be potions for your chests to increase the chance of, and I don't know what I'll need to clarify what this is, but it either increase the chances of getting a reward card or increase the chances of the rarity of that reward card. But potions there sound awesome. He said there used to be potions for reward chests in the past, but they did take that away. So hopefully one of the OGs can verify that that was actually the case or what that experience was like. But again, more DEC syncs for just playing the game. I love it. I love it. I love it. We need more of these. And then somebody did ask directly, are you thinking that these will be rentable? And he said no. And one note that I didn't put on here, but also because they don't have an answer on this, is they want to figure out a way so that it's not just stuck on your account the entire time. So whether you want to sell it, whether you want to burn it, they haven't figured that out yet. But it is being deliberated or talked about within the team. So we'll wait to see and get more information. But Soulbound reward cards, I thought they were going to get that out by this week too, or at least I thought they would be incentivized to. But looking at the print rates, it doesn't look like we're that close. So I think they're fine for a couple of weeks at least until the new year and then into the new year. All right, so number 8, season rentals. Oh gosh, okay. This was... You remember when season rentals was first discussed? It was in July. And now they're saying that it is a high priority and that they're hoping that it'll be out within the next couple of months. And I got to say that it's stuff like that, which is why I put that disclaimer at the beginning of the video or at the beginning of going through these, because there's a lot of great ideas, but ideas are talked about, even put into posts. It was in a post back in July or August. And from my understanding right now, and again, I'm not saying anything internally. I'm just saying from my understanding, it sounds like they're just going to get started working on it. And sure, it's been a busy couple of months for the team. They had a lot of other projects, a lot of other launches that, this obviously fell to the wayside. But I do hope when they say that it is a high priority that we get it within like Q1, because I think this will really help for new players coming in wanting to play at higher levels. I mean, for myself, for example, I have a gold level deck and I would love to be able to just go in and rent a bunch of cards for the entire season to play in diamond and not worry about them getting canceled on me or that whole thing, and just do it for the season. Just know that I'm all in and have no worries about showing up every day and playing. Aggie also has this idea for sleeves where, to make it easy, like a one click, players can create sleeves, or card owners can create sleeves where it's just like, here is all of Chaos Legion. And it is maxed for bronze or maxed for gold or maxed for diamond. And I'm just going to put it on the market. And so I can go in and say like, hey, it cost X amount of DEC. That's a fair price. I'm going to go hit rent, and boom, I get the entire thing, all of Chaos Legion or all of Rift Watchers in one transaction. I think that would be great. And I hope that they can put something like that in, or they're thinking about it when it comes to season rentals. But it seemed more like an idea that Aggie had rather than something that the team was actively working on or reviewing. Okay, cool. Now, number 9, but we're going on to the guilds category here. So there's a little bit more talk about the guild alliances. And so there was some interesting information there. There is going to be some potential voucher syncs for guilds, as well as ways to get benefits by staking or buying packs. So there might be some counter now for your guild if, for example, like, I don't know, to level up a building or to get some kind of benefit if you've bought X amount of packs as a guild together, which I think is going to be really interesting because, obviously there's a lot of pools and things happening. Well, now a lot of those pools might be very inward focused, where it's just like, oh, well, I want to help my guild. So, reach out to the guild and say, hey, who wants to get on who wants to buy some packs or who wants to do such and such. But I love that idea. And then, of course, Rooney makes an appearance here. Again, everything is TBD, but there's talk about staking Rooney on one of the buildings potentially being a requirement or something that could help overall. So lots with guild alliances. I would say, I love the idea of guild alliances because it just creates more potential community building, but also voucher syncs and maybe even some other DEC syncs. I would say, though, that, this sounds massive. The way that Matt describes it, it sounds massive, and I don't think they've done anything to get started on it. So, 6 months to 2 years, right? If we're looking at the time frame for land. So it's cool, but, maybe 2025. We'll see. All right, so The other thing about guilds is the increased use of gladiator cards and having like a potential gladiator rule set. They want to get gladiator cards more involved outside of guilds. So I guess this really shouldn't be under guilds, but gladiator cards are still primarily used in guild brawls. And so when, if they can give more value to these guys, and I'm assuming there might be some benefits for using them on land or some benefits for, I don't know, maybe other guild related activities or guild alliances, who knows. But I love the idea of rule sets. I know that Weirdbit has talked about having potentially, what's that called, not guild, but gladiator tournaments, where you can play a tournament and use your gladiator cards. This is the first element of where Soulbound stuff was from, right? So people who've been in the game the longest and have been acquiring and leveling up their gladiator cards will have a huge benefit. And so to me, at this point in time, I think it's really important, if you're not in a guild yet, or if you're still considering it, find a good one. And it doesn't even need to be a good one. Just find one that is competing, get in, do your brawls, and start acquiring and leveling up your deck, because I think this will play a bigger part in the future. And you may not need it, but you may also feel excluded, or I guess not excluded, but you may feel disadvantaged in many instances if, for example, they do put a rule set that allows for gladiator cards to be used, or if they have gladiator tournaments where you're like, I'm not really competitive because all of mine are still level 1. So, it's a good time to consider, getting into a guild or leveling up your guild and doing all that fun stuff. Okay, awesome. We've made it through all the big stuff. Let's go through the miscellaneous. Number 11 here. Weirdbit has talked about this. Cryptomancer expanded upon it in the town hall today. So card editions are going to change to card sets, and this is something that they have planned for early 2023. It's going to impact brawls, tournaments, and then just the game overall. And the basics behind this is, instead of having promo and it's like promo, your core set Chaos Legion, your mini set Rift Watchers, like you just have everything under one umbrella. So that, for example, right now, so the big argument is when you play brawls or when you play in certain tournaments, you can play like Chaos Legion and Rift Watchers, or a Chaos Legion and Rift Watchers tournament, but you can't use Dr. Blight, you can't use Oshur, and you can't use like any other promo cards that would technically be associated with this overall kind of epoch, as Weirdbeard calls it. So now, there will be epochs, or we'll call them card sets, where, for example, in this case, you'd be able to use Chaos Legion, Rift Watchers, their associated promo cards, which would actually be Dr. Blight, Oshur, Lux Vega, and Waka, right? And so you'd be able to just use them all. And when you're creating a tournament or you're entering a tournament, whatever the case is, you'll just be able to see that, click it, and just be like, yep, okay. So everything from this time period is going to be usable for this specific set. So I like that. Obviously, that's going to play then into Rebellion and onwards with whatever sets they end up coming out in the future. Okay, number 12. This is interesting because Bulldog just did a video on this about how SPS staking on players is going to fix everything, or a lot of things. This is something that Matt is hoping to come out with in the first half of 2023. And I thought that it was interesting because he said it's not going to be very impactful. So again, I'm not trying to throw shade at Bulldog. I really enjoyed that video from Bulldog. It's just interesting to hear the founder of the game saying the complete opposite. So I think we'll have to look into that a little bit more. I don't want to dig into it too much here. And I would highly recommend going to check out Bulldog's video where he talks about it, and then potentially finding the spot in the town hall where Matt mentions this. But he doesn't really go into detail. And so, and when we say not as impactful, I think it's not as impactful on the price of SPS. I think Matt is much more bullish on like the flywheel effect with DEC, rather than requiring players to stake to earn rewards, or to stake on other players and earn rewards through that way. So again, I thought it was just an interesting thing. He did say, though, that it could potentially, and I think they're thinking about this, they could use SPS staking as a way to replace CP. So in order to play at a certain league, you may have to invest a certain amount. And that could be interesting. That's a whole video in and of itself. But I wanted to mention it here. Again, all of this is just unconfirmed stuff that's been put out by the team. Not saying it's going to happen, but it's interesting to consider, and would definitely make would definitely make a huge change to the economy, because then you wouldn't be able to have just a bunch of high level bots that come in and play at Diamond because they can rent the cards for cheap. So I can already see a utility for this, because it's just like, well, if you want to play at the highest levels, you not only have to have the cards, but you have to, you have to have a certain amount of stake in the game. And the biggest counter argument to this is then going to be, well, I'm already investing in the cards. Why are you going to make me invest another 100 or 1,000 or multiple $1,000s into staking SPS? And that's a valid point. So I don't want to dig into it further because nothing is confirmed yet. So we'll just see. Rift Watchers. If you've been buying Rift Watchers packs, number 13 here, Rift Watcher packs will actually count towards the Archimus promo card. So I didn't know that. Apparently there's a post coming out tomorrow with more details about Archimus the Bear and this promo card, and I guess whatever's happening right now. So that post is going to come out tomorrow. I'll cover it when it does. But Rift Watchers packs are included. So if you've been buying or plan to buy, this is a good time. Now, there will not be any deals on Rift Watchers. Somebody did ask. There will not be any deals on Rift Watchers because Rift Watchers is technically sold by the DAO. And, Aggie did say that if there's a proposal where the DAO wants to put some kind of bulk buy forward and we as a community, as SPS stakers, vote to approve it, then that could happen. But the team can't unilaterally make that decision. So that was interesting. Okay, number 14, fee for market transactions going to the DAO. This was asked as a question and then briefly discussed. Matt said that it was a great idea. I think so too. They are already testing this or planning to test it with Genesis League, where, a portion of the fee there, it goes towards the DAO. And so here within Splinterlands, there's like $50,000 worth of market activity every single day. Again, you take 1% of that, which is what, $500. I know it doesn't seem like much, but that's every single day. You're taking $500, putting it into the DAO. And here's the best part. If you decide that the DAO should be receiving this in SPS, well, then DEC is the main transactional currency of the marketplace. So if you're taking $500 worth of DEC every day and buying SPS, I know, again, these are small numbers in the grand scheme of things, but it's consistent every single day. And as the market activity increases, you would be selling that DEC and buying SPS, therefore raising the price of SPS, right? Because there would be demand every single day for whatever 1% of the market transactions would be. So I'm a fan of this. I don't know why it's not in place yet, but my assumption is that the team has just been too busy to really even consider it, to put like a proposal forward. But I hope that they do that soon. I think it would be great to start adding more value into the DAO, locking more things up into the DAO. Even if we leave it as DEC right now, just lock up $500 of DEC into the DAO every single day, especially while DEC is below peg. I'm good with whatever, but this needs to happen and happen soon. And then to close it out, and we're going to keep this at barely under half hour, but for those of you who are excited about Weirdbeard's Battle Pass idea, Aggie said that the Battle Pass is gaining traction within the company, and it's definitely something they are looking into further. Apparently, Chatter has also thrown his support behind it. So I think this is going to be great. They did ask Cryptomancer how long it would take to code something like this, but again, he said it all just depends on what it entails. And right now, there's too many ideas. They'd have to whittle it down and get something basic into the mix and then add to it over time. But I would love for there to be an MVP version, an MVP version, meaning a minimum viable product. So just the most basic thing out by the end of Q1. But we're already hoping for so much before the end of Q1 that I don't know. So that's all I have for you guys. There's a lot of stuff here. As I said, this is probably one of the best town halls that you should listen to within the last couple of months. So if you get a chance, check it out. Listen on 1.5x speed or 2x speed if you need to. And that's all I have for you guys. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I want to end this video here. I will catch you all in the next one and see you around the game. Take care.